Robin, perhaps we could ask participants who are not speaking to mute their microphones. You're also muted, Robin, I think.
Thank you. Thank you. Minister Nguzi, if you are able to begin, we have all of our expected participants and we welcome you to bring the opening remarks. If all could please mute their line if they are not speaking, we would appreciate that courtesy. Thank you.
Thank you, Raven. Good morning for colleagues and friends from that part of the Atlantic Ocean. Good afternoon for this part of the world. All protocols observed. I'm very honored and pleased to welcome you to this event fostering nutrient stewardship for food and nutrition security in Africa. It's a great pleasure for the ministry to co-host this event, and I hope this event can give us a lot of information that we can synthesize and take it forward as event 1, event 2, 3, 4, and so on. So without further ado, I would like to invite Grandma to take us or to give us a little bit of introduction about this particular event and get back to you on the keynote part. Thank you. Back.
So,
Clyde, over to you.
okay, I believe I have some, if we could advance the slides, I think, forward. So I wanted to thank everyone. My name is Clyde Graham. I'm Executive Vice President at Fertilizer Canada, which is a trade association representing all of the fertilizer companies in Canada, including some of the world's largest fertilizer manufacturers and exporters, and many of them are engaged in sponsoring for our solution project in Africa, and you'll hear from some of them today. So please note that the session is being recorded, and we have measures in place to help maintain the integrity of the event. Should there be a disturbance, please do not be concerned, and we will restore order shortly. A reminder to mute your devices if you're not speaking, and please, if you can, please ensure your name appears when you're entering the call. And the question and answer series will be run using the raise hand function. So if you wish to speak, please press the button that looks like a hand, and we will get you engaged. So next slide, please. So we'd like to go to welcoming remarks from the Honorable Dr. Mendefro Nguzi, State Minister, Ministry of Agriculture from Ethiopia.
Thank you, Grandma. Thank you all for making this event possible and participating in this event. I'm very honored to welcome you to this event. And Ethiopia, as a pilot country, I do think that we have a lot of data, information that can be processed and synthesized to be scaled either to other parts of the country or to other African countries or elsewhere. So we have taken this event, fostering nutrient stewardship for food and nutrition security in Africa, because we are a pilot country and we generate a lot of information that we can share with the rest of the world. That's why we are having this first event, and I hope we are going to continue to have this event. So agriculture, unlike other sectors, has no replacement because food has no replacement. We can replace many other products and services with alternative options, but food has no replacement so far. And I do believe it will continue to be an important area. If food is an important area, then agriculture is an important area, especially as we move on in an area where the population of the globe is increasing and the resources due to climate change and other factor is depleting. So soil as one of the factor for boosting production and productivity, having this 4R, the right source, the right dose, and at the recommended rate at the right time is a critical initiative that Ethiopia is considering and piloting. So the 4R has precision agriculture in it. It also has a sustainable agriculture in it. So the two together is a future of agriculture. So this initiative has economic benefits in terms of increasing production, in terms of improving food security, and in terms of protecting the environment from toxicity of applying overdose or from getting less produce because of the lower dose. So Ministry of Agriculture will learn a lot from this initiative. And the current pilot is in 2 regional states. And these states have chosen specific crops. And these crops are pilot crops where we can scale moving forward, taking other crops, as well as considering other environments in other states. So we will learn and scale the lesson of this innovation, and we will document properly the processes and the content so that we can scale it up. So I would like to stop in there and hand over to either Rai or Grandma.
Thank you very much, Minister, for your remarks. So I just wanted to provide very briefly, just turn on my video. I just wanted to provide very briefly some an introduction to the 4R Solution project. If we could go to the next slide. So this is a Canadian program that that the aim is to improve socioeconomic well-being and resilience of smallholder farmers, particularly women, in Ghana, Ethiopia, and very shortly we'll be moving into Senegal as well. Our aim is to reach 80,000 smallholder farmers in those 3 countries over the 5 years of the project. Global Affairs Canada, which is the government department that is funding the project, has provided just under $17 million for the project, or the total project is 17. The private sector contribution is about $2 million, and there's some in-kind contributions as well. The project started in 2019 and is expected to wrap up in 2024. The project, as the minister mentioned, is meant to be scalable. That is, we are hoping that the lessons and evidence that we gain in Ghana, Ethiopia, and Senegal will inform decisions in other countries and provide a model for improving the use of fertilizer in other parts of Africa to the advantage of smallholder farmers. So if we could go to the next slide, please. One of the key features of this is that it is a public-private partnership. We have 7 companies that are engaged in the fertilizer business or related activities that are engaged in the private sector component of the project. And also the Cooperative Development Foundation, who we'll hear from later, brings the private sector cooperative movement to bear to get better outcomes. It's and as the minister mentioned, it is about sustainable food systems. Fertilizer is the foundation for growing the plants that feed not only people but livestock, and is really at the foundation of successful agriculture. We want to thank the Government of Canada for its confidence in this endeavor and its very significant funding. We'd like to recognize, and I think as we've heard from the government, they have a strong interest in public-private partnerships. If you could advance to the next slide. So for our nutrient stewardship, what is it? It's a decision-making system based on science that's been used for more than a decade in North America to help farmers improve their outcomes when they use fertilizer. There are 4 key pillars to the 4 R's. The first is choosing the right source of nutrient, and that could be the various kinds of fertilizer products, or in places where it's available, manure or other sources of nutrients. It's also ensuring that you're using the right grade of fertilizer so that the fertilizer matches the needs of the plants and recognizes the soil fertility. It's also applying it at the right time when plants can best take advantage of the fertilizer, but also at times when you're going to minimize the loss to the air or water. And then also in the right place. How is the fertilizer applied in relation to the seeds that it's trying to nourish? And also looking at the variability of the landscape because fields are not uniform, and so they may have different fertility needs throughout the field. While the system was developed in North America, I always like to think that a seed planted in the ground does not know whether it's being grown in a 5,000 acre farm or a 1 hectare farm. The basic principles of agronomy apply regardless of the size of the farm. We can go to the next slide, Robin. And I think that Africa has very positive ambitions to improve fertilizer use and increase yields. And what we believe is by using the 4 R's, farmers will be able to sustainably increase their fertilizer use to achieve the economic and social needs of a growing African economy and population, but at the same time, contributing to the effort to manage climate change, to minimize cost to air quality, to protect drinking water, and to ensure that we have sustainable watersheds throughout the continent. Can we go to the next slide, Robin? I just note that the program has been designed to match up with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and we can give you information on how that plays out. And if we could go to the next slide. And this is just a breakdown of the the numbers of farmers in the various countries and by gender that we'll be reaching. We'll go to the next slide. And Barbara McLaren from the Government of Canada will talk about the importance of gender equality in improving the outcomes for smallholder farmers, both men and particularly women. Next slide, please. And here are just some of the many project priorities that we have. And the next slide, please. And I just wanted to thank our partners and our funders who are listed on the screen here, who are making this project work. And I also want to be particularly thankful that we have really been able to maintain the effort despite COVID-19 and continue to make good progress. And so I salute all our partners in this. And I believe that's the end of my presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Clyde. It would be a great honor then to have Barbara McLaren address the group on behalf of Global Affairs Canada, a vital partner in this project. Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to speak at today's dialogue. I'm a gender specialist with Global Affairs Canada's Partnerships for Development branch, and I'm really delighted to be here among such esteemed company around the virtual boardroom. I just want to take a couple minutes to speak about our department's cooperation and assistance policy, and then some of the gender-based barriers in the agricultural sector, and finally for our nutrient stewardship project itself. I don't have any slides, so bear with me, I'll try to keep it brief. Canada recently distinguished itself as the world's top donor with regard to its bilateral aid focused on gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls, according to a March OECD DAC report. And in 2017, Global Affairs announced a one-of-its-kind feminist international assistance policy known as FIAP. And what was the rationale for framing our assistance policy as a feminist one? Well, it was simply this, that inequality exists around the world, and decreasing inequality between men and women is probably the most effective approach for lowering poverty and enabling growth and prosperity for everyone. So at a household level, a community level, and even the national level. And so for just about 4 years now, we've been forging ahead with this project with very important partners such as you all on the line today. The 4R project actually contributes to 3 important FIAP action areas or domains. The first being gender equality and women's empowerment. The second is inclusive economic growth. And the third is the environment. And what does it mean to integrate a gender lens in programming in a Canadian view? Well, there's so much I could say here, but in short, it means that our partners use gender-based analysis plus to inform their project approach and its planned results in meaningful consultation, not only with local partners, but with women and girls in the target communities. It means project partners acknowledge that power dynamics and cultural norms of behavior often disadvantage women and girls, and these need to be addressed where possible. It means that gender equality outcomes are discussed with the local target communities and are built into programming in such a way that disaggregated data and evidence is collected throughout the project cycle. And in this way, we can all tell a compelling story about how women, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, are engaged and are benefiting, whether it's in a climate change and agricultural program such as this one, or education or health, etc. In the agricultural sector, common barriers to women's rights and prosperity include lack of access of women to productive resources, less opportunity to participate in extension services and other types of technical training, limited decision-making power on farms and in food systems. And for example, women's membership in farming cooperatives is quite low in the sub-Saharan region. In Ethiopia, for example, the project team found that it stands at only 20%. And when they asked about women in cooperative leadership positions, they found that it was virtually non-existent in Ethiopia. Another example would be the fact that men tend to make sole decisions on buying and selling mechanized farm equipment. But how is the 4R Nutrient Stewardship project tackling some of the barriers that I just mentioned? Well, they're integrating a gender lens using 4 main tracks, from my understanding. And the first is improving women's knowledge and skills on farming. For example, by the end of the project, 150 women smallholder farmers will be trained as extension agents and leaders in cooperatives. Second, the project is improving women's access to farm inputs, markets, and credit. In Ghana alone, over 900 women have engaged with input markets and gained knowledge of where to obtain farm inputs. Women are forming and have already formed rural commercial women's groups, which are an important avenue for them to apply for small loans. And the third track is giving greater access to women to resources and decision-making roles. For example, by the end of the project, there will be 1,200 gender model families that have been recruited in Ghana and 250 approximately in Ethiopia. The fourth track is enhancing women's representation in the membership and governance of cooperatives. And to advance this goal, the project is restructuring savings and credit cooperatives to achieve a minimum of 50% women in leadership positions. That would be quite an achievement. In conclusion, Global Affairs Canada recognizes that women are powerful agents of change within the agricultural sector and that they actively contribute to advancing sustainable farming practices and improving food security for the entire community. We are proud of our 4R nutrient partners and look forward to disseminating the accomplishments of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Appreciate your comments. I just let the speakers know that we are unfortunately a little bit behind. So if you keep your remarks a little tighter, that would be helpful. Next, I'd like to introduce Benoit Andre, who's the Executive Director of the Cooperative Development Foundation of Canada, which is our key implementing partner on the ground in Africa. Ben?
Yes, hi Graham. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'll try to keep it very tight. Yes, I'm the Executive Director of CDF Canada. It's the Cooperative Development Foundation of Canada. It was created in 47, so it's an old organization. We've been working with in more than 40 countries, and we usually work with COVs and SACCOs, Africa specifically. CDF was created by the COP and the credit union movement in Canada. This movement is still very important and is still supporting us. To give you an example, the COP movement is 3.4% of the Canadian GDP and employs currently about 200,000 people are employed by co-ops and credit unions in Canada. So it's still a very important part of the economy, Canadian economy. As it works in Canada, and we believe it works in other countries, co-op and credit unions are powerful tools that create long-term growth. And an example, in 2017, our organization impacted more than 200,000 women, men, and children by focusing on food security, community, economic development, and so on. If you want to move to the next slide, it would be great. Now, why do we use co-ops in this project, to implement this project in terms of development? Well, co-ops are extremely well positioned to reach out communities. They are very much present in Ethiopia and Ghana, where we also act, and in other countries in Africa, of course, in Rwanda, for example, where we have several projects. Co-ops have a unique understanding of their members' needs and how they can respond to those needs. So they also bring what we call the local buying. You know, you're a member of the co-op, you can have a role in that co-op. There is a buying in a project and its implementation. Co-ops also, and we notice this, you know, because of the terrible events that happen right now, that are critical to delivery of agricultural services. But in terms of crisis, you know, for instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, co-ops were really on the ball when it comes to supporting farmers. Actually, in the 4-hour project, there is a component that was offered by the government of Canada, where we provide support to more than 12,000 other farmers to obtain inputs and fertilizer, seeds and whatnot in these very difficult times. And because we work with co-ops, we're able to deliver those inputs very quickly, and they very, very quickly reach the community. So if you want to move to the next slide, I can explain also that in this context right now, in this project, we are working actually with 12 Apex cooperatives, regional co-ops, that represent 70,000 direct beneficiaries, and more than half of them actually will be women. Cooperative will facilitate community mobilization and registration, and they engage actually through co-ops the participation of smallholder farmers. I've got some numbers on those slides. Now, the role of cooperatives, and that's the next slides. We see it usually, we call it the integrated co-op model, meaning that we work on the production side. It's kind of a triangle, right? It's production, finance, and access to market. So the production sides, where co-ops are central to the supply of agricultural inputs, as I already mentioned. So fertilizer, but also seeds and equipment. Like recently, we have built 4 warehouses for the farmers. There's also the finance part of this, which, you know, co-ops, SACCOs, will provide low interest production loans to members. We expect 14,000 women and men farmers to have access to the loans. But then, of course, once you have produced more and better quality, you need to have access to market, and co-ops provide a critical linkage between the smallholder farmers and the higher-end market buyers, right? And the co-ops will play that role, so kind of a marketing co-op role, if you wish. And these are, to summarize, a short summary of the role of co-ops in this project. I'll be happy to answer any question after the session, I guess. Thank you. I hope I kept it quite tight.
That was excellent, Ben. Thank you very much for your comments. I'd now like to move to introduce James Mategi, who is a senior scientist at the African Plant Nutrition Institute, and he's based in Nairobi, Kenya, and he's going to be discussing the current state of nutrient stewardship in Africa.
Clyde, if I might intervene, my apologies. I believe Minister Nguzi needs to introduce Commissioner Sacco, because Commissioner Sacco has a time constraint. If James would allow us to call upon the Commissioner.
Thank you, Reuben. Excellencies, EU Commissioner, Excellency, Minister of Agriculture of Zambia, and CEO of Agricultural Transformation Agency, Khalid Bomba. Commissioner, we highly appreciate your time and we value your contribution in terms of promoting the lessons that we can draw from this particular initiative piloted in Ethiopia and Ghana. So I don't want to drag the process because we are already late in terms of timing. So if you have, few things that you can say, Commissioner, I would like to invite you at this point.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm having problem with my video. It's still mute. Start my video. Let me see. I'm having problem to get you through my video. Let me try. It's still not working.
We can't hear you effectively,
no,
Commissioner.
the mic is no problem, but the video, I cannot, I cannot get through the video. Maybe I will just read my my statement and then, because I have another point, I have another commitment at 17 hours.
Yes.
Because it's not working. I don't know why.
Okay.
It was working. The meeting.
That's fine, Commissioner. You can proceed.
Okay. Good afternoon, every one of you. Honorable Dr. Mandefo Nigusi, State Minister of Agriculture Development Sector, Ministry of Agriculture of the Federal Republic, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Mr. Slide Graham, Executive Vice President, Fertilizer Canada, fellow panelists, dear participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Let me start by recognizing the combined effort of the Ministry of Agriculture of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia and Fertilizer Canada for organizing the Pan-African Ministerial event on fostering nutrients stewardship for food and nutrition security in Africa. Congratulations. Thank you, Dr. Niguzi, for extending an invitation to me to be part of the dialogue this evening. I also acknowledge the difficult times we are in today and commend the resilience exhibited by the participants, well aware that no country has been spared from the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm happy to know that we are all safe and healthy. Let me applaud Fertilizer Canada for launching the 5-year project of the 4R Solution Program geared towards applying the right source of fertilizer, using the right weight at the right time of the year and in the right place. I believe that this level of precision of fertilizer management informed by science will go a long way in improving yields and profitability while increasing environmental sustainability, all this being crucial to enhancing food and nutrition security in Ethiopia and Ghana, currently beneficiary of the program. I know the strides that Ethiopia has undertaken in soil mapping, and this is the best practice that ought to be emulated by countries which aspire to transform agriculture. In order to replicate and extend this program, I would like to call upon the proponents of the 4R solution to partner with the African Union Commission and complement the effort initiated by the African Head of State and Government in June 2006 during the African Union Specialized Summit, of which adopted the Abuja Declaration on Fertilizer for the African Green Revolution. As the Commission prepares for the Abuja II Summit, there is increased recognition that fertilizer policy alone are not sufficiently effective to increase crop productivity. Hence, the importance of aligning the critical role of soil health and the complementary soil and crop management practices in both improving the efficiency of fertilizer use and achieving higher and sustainable gain in crop productivity. To this end, there is need for development and implementation of a complementary policy related to input services, including time access to quality seed, investment in extension, breeding, infrastructure, irrigation, market, and demographic inclusivity, among others. The current pandemic has also shone light on the urgent needs for agricultural digitalization so as to bridge barriers through facilitating collaboration and generating opportunity for inclusion. My department is currently working with CTA in developing a continental strategy on digital agriculture. I will use this opportunity to work with the regional economic community to reassess and re-examine the existing ICTs and agriculture policies and strategy to mainstream digitalization, since literature shows that it has the potential to boost productivity and profitability along the value chain, improve access to finance, and address social inclusion gap for youth and women. Member states will be required to provide an enabling environment that is essential for suitable digital solutions to emerge and to be adopted effectively as part of the broader toolbox of measures that can transform African agri-food system. Scaling up and scaling out, the 4R solution hinges on Africa's ability to mobilize sufficient, predictable, and timely financial resources, as is also true for any development agenda, including the African Union Agenda 2063. I'm proud to say that since the beginning of the global pandemic, African Union has displayed commendable leadership and unity and responded with unprecedented resilience. We shall use the same spirit to take charge of rebuilding our economy and looking for sustainable solutions. You will all agree with me that development is essential in internally driven process of a nation. Consequently, it is imperative that Africa mobilizes its domestic resources and take the lead in its rebuilding process and drive its development agenda. Hence, Africa must seriously consider generating of saving from domestic resources and their allocation to socially productive investment. This will involve measures that enhance mutual accountability, including strengthening public expenditure management, improvement of revenue management, increased private sector, private resources mobilization for investment opportunity, especially for micro, small, and medium-sized businesses, among others. With the ongoing structural transformation processes in countries like Ethiopia, visionary leadership at the continental level, transparent and the strategic partnership with multilateral institutions, and strong commitment at the national level, substantial increases in agricultural productivity will soon be within reach. Positive interaction between agricultural and industrial development must be taken advantage of, and this includes curbing post-harvest loss, as well as expansion of the marketed share of agricultural output, which enable farm cash income to rise and hence improve livelihood. Before I conclude, let me reiterate the total solidarity of the Department of Rural Economy and Agriculture of the African Union Commission with the people and the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in their quest for social, economic, political, and cultural renaissance. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Your remarks are very much associated with the initiative and is very much broader than what we expected. I hope your support will remain solid in terms of promoting this initiative to other African countries. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and see you next time. I look forward to get all the recommendation of this important event, and then we follow up. Thanks.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Commissioner. So just following this Commissioner remark, we have Her Excellency, the Minister of Agriculture of Rwanda. Can we spare a few minutes so that the Minister from Rwanda would say something about this initiative?
I think we'd be very happy to accommodate the minister from Rwanda.
Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be joining this conversation. It's a very important conversation. There is no way we can be speaking of improving food and nutrition security in Africa without speaking of soil health, as well as the nutrients that are needed by the plants to grow. So I think this is a platform that is happening at the right time. I was hearing the Commission saying about how the food security is needed and the efforts that are being done in Ethiopia to make sure that the country is improving the crop productivity. It's a commendable initiative, and just want to mention that Rwanda is happy to be joining the movement. We are into the process of making our digital soil map. We are working with OCP in developing the fertilizer blending unit. So, but also other scientific initiatives that are needed to increase the crop productivity. Because when you look at all of us in Africa, we are lagging behind in terms of crop productivity, and there is no way we can achieve what we want to achieve, being food and nutrition security, being economic growth, without using the scientific breakthrough that worked somewhere else to increase our crop productivity in a sustainable way. So I think I'm happy to be joining this discussion, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Excellency, for excellent remark. Can I call upon the Minister of Zambia to point out a few remarks?
I think that would be very appropriate. Thank you very much, Minister.
Hello.
Minister from Zambia.
Yes, please. Good afternoon. From here, it's good afternoon. I'm representing the Minister of Zambia. My name is Moses Mwale. I'm Director of the Department of Agriculture. And so we are quite excited to be part of this discussion here. And in terms of fertilization in Zambia, Zambia imports more than 98% of the fertilizers that are used locally. And these include organics, inorganics, and biological fertilizers. And the right source is achieved through testing of the quality of fertilizers that is imported in the country. And also we involve the Zambia fertilizer, the Zambia Bureau of Standards to make sure that these fertilizers are of the right quality. In terms of numbers, the country uses about 650,000 metric tons per year. And these mostly are basal dressing, which is NPK 10-20-10, as well as top dressing, which is urea. And the government has completed undertaking a soil survey mapping of soil fertility in selected provinces and districts, where recommendations in future will be location specific. Right now, the problem we have is that we have blanket fertilizer recommendations of 200 kgs basal dressing, which is NPK 10-20-10, and urea 200 kgs as well as blanket. And so doing that is, we have a lot of inefficiencies in the utilization of fertilizer. But Zambia has on the market a number of crop-specific fertilizers, both blended and foliar fertilizers, but these are mostly utilized by commercial farmers. So the challenge is the increase of mixed messages to the farmers on application rates by different players. So we need to harmonize that. So it's very important, I think, to look at fertilization in terms of the right source, in terms of the right rate, the right time, and the right place. So we are quite excited to be part of this discussion, and would love to see how we can move the process forward in trying to increase fertilizer use, as well as the efficient use of these fertilizers. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the at the end of the session, I will recognize Mr. Khalid Bomba, who did an excellent job in terms of mapping Ethiopian soils, to make a few remarks. But at this point, I would like to take you back to the program. Thank you, and over to you, Ram.
Well, thank you very much. Excellent comments from Zambia. So I'd like to call on James Mategi from the African Plant Nutrition Institute out of Nairobi to talk about the current state of nutrient stewardship in Africa. And James, if you could keep your remarks brief, that would be appreciated. James, do you have your microphone engaged?
Are you able to hear me?
We are now, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. So a few things that we know about nutrient and sustainability challenge in Africa is, first of all, that the fertilizer used in Africa is very, very low. Actually, the average is less than 15 kilograms of nutrients per hectare. The Abuja target was 50 kilograms of nutrient per hectare, but we're not yet there. The low fertilizer use is actually causing negative nutrient imbalances with the potential for long-term impacts on land degradation. We have to realize that the land that we have in Africa cannot be expanded. It's the same amount of land, so we need to improve in terms of the yield levels that we can produce from the land that we have. The high yield gaps are common in Africa. For example, for most of the crops, it is estimated that the yield gaps we are only able to achieve 20 to 35%. For example, a crop like maize, whereas in Africa we are getting 2 tons per hectare, it has an attainable yield of up to 80 tons per hectare. So there's a huge yield gap that we can close to improve the crop yield. A range of partners in Africa are actually working to increase the fertilizer use and the use with the limited success due to a number of factors, but the key factor being the low fertilizer use efficiency that is mainly driven by the use of unbalanced fertilization and inappropriate use of fertilizers, mainly due to limited access to fertilizer knowledge, that is fertilizer education. This means that many people actually do not have a good understanding of how to use the fertilizers, including the farmers, the policymakers, and a range of others, and we can improve the effectiveness of fertilizer through a range of capacity building activities. Application of 4R nutrient stewardship which we are discussing here today, actually provides an opportunity for improving the youth's profits and also ensuring sustainability of the environment. Next, please. Next, please. Next slide.
It just takes a moment, James, to advance.
Okay. So APNI is implementing a range of programs on nutrient stewardship with a various number of partners. One of those programs is the Tree Crops and Cereals for a Nutrient Stewardship program in North Africa. And the target for this program is that 1,000 farmers, extension workers, and policy makers. Basically, what we are doing here is we are training the farmers on exactly what it means to apply fertilizer from the right source, the right rate, the right time, and the right place. We're also building the capacity of the policy makers in these countries where we are working, so that in cases where they have to make policies related to fertilizers, then they're making policies that are targeting the right type of fertilizers that can be able to address the problems that we find in the soils in different regions in these countries. The second program is the 4R solutions that we are discussing here today that is handling crops like teff, wheat, maize, chicken pea, and other crops in Ethiopia, Ghana, Senegal. The target number of farmers here is 80,000 who we are training and also providing and also supporting those countries in terms of the data-driven solutions. The third program is the nutrient management program that we're implementing in Tanzania. And the target number of farmers here is 20,000 farmers. We're also building the capacity of extension workers and the policy makers. And the fourth program that I would want to talk about today is the fertilizer assistance program. This is a program that is in Kenya funded by AGRA. The target number of farmers is 120,000 farmers. Is supposed to train the 120,000 farmers and build the capacity of the policy makers and extension. In all these programs, we are basically integrating research into all these programs to generate data on the right sources of fertilizer and to support the countries in terms of fine-tuning fertilizer recommendations, because you find that most of these countries use the blanket type of recommendation, which is not effective for a range of soils and the range of crops that they grow in those countries. Next, please. So I decided to put this graph here to show an example of some of the results that we generated from CIA. And so the grayish bar is the where we are the common practice, the farmers growing crops as they grow with device from the extension. And the black bar is where we hand the 4R nutrient stewardship program with our hand device. And if you look at them clearly in different locations, you find that in places where we implemented the 4R nutrient stewardship program, we were able to get almost 30% increase in yield, although in actual sense, the way we have done it is in such a way that the cost of, that we're trying to match the cost of the common practice with the cost of the program that we implemented as the 4R nutrient stewardship. This shows that with the 4R nutrient stewardship, farmers were able to reap certain benefits, almost 30% increase in yield. Next slide, please. As I said, I hand on in 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, James. That was very informative. Faisal, if you would not mind, I understand that Vanessa Adams from AGRA has a hard stop, and I was wondering if we might give her just a couple of minutes at this point, and then we'll come back to you. Vanessa from AGRA, if you could make your comments.
Sure. Yes.
Thanks, Faisal.
Thank you, Faisal, and thank you, Graham, and thanks to all of the great speakers and Minister Atangusi. I recognize, of course, Khalid Bamba, who I just got to hear on another panel, our good partners from APNI and AFAP. It's a great pleasure, Minister Mukibunana from Rwanda, to see you all and to join around this important initiative, which is really for AGRA critical to see smallholder farmers transform their economic capacity and growth, as well as keeping in mind, of course, the imperatives of the global climate change, increased volatility, and the need for adaptation. Dr. Nega Wubana is on the line. He is our country manager for Ethiopia, and many of you know that we also have a very strong program in Ghana. So we're eager to collaborate and support and help this program, as Minister Joseph Asaka also said, help this program scale rapidly and join forces in collaborative use of the great technologies that have already been put in place. We also believe, as you mentioned earlier, that the use of input financing is critical, as well as linkage to markets. We have programs and support running in many different areas and in partnership with many of you online. And a new one that you might not have known about is just launched as well with CIMMYT in terms of the need for reducing soil acidity, in addition to what has already been described here, continuing challenge for so many farmers. So I just wanted to lend our support and recognize the vision and the continued investment of Ethiopia in investing in ag transformation, which is really paying off over the long term. So this is just to recognize and appreciate all of those online and lend our support. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Vanessa. Kind words from AGRA, and we certainly recognize the great work that AGRA is doing. I'd now like to turn to Faisal Benamur, Senior Vice President of East Africa for OCP. OCP is one of the funding companies for our solution project. Faisal.
Thanks, Graham and Robin, for organizing this this great event and for giving us the opportunity to share some thoughts about nutrient management and more broadly agricultural development in Africa. Can I have the slide, please? Next one, please. I'm very honored to join this incredible participant panel and acknowledge the presence of Her Excellency Commissioner Joseph Asako, Her Excellency Minister Gerardine, His Excellency Minister Ngusi, and Dr. Khalid Momba and Vanessa, among all the other participants. In a nutshell, we at OCP Group are deeply convinced that customization is key to enhance agricultural productivity in Africa. Hence the importance of a strong nutrient management program to do so. We have been privileged to work with the different farmer and farming systems around the world, and we had the opportunity to get the best benchmark and deploy its philosophy in Africa. And believe me, the result is incredible. This deployment started with soil fertility map. As you can see, we have to build a strong scientific basis to establish the right source, the first R of the 4R nutrient management program. Then all the fertilizer formula and field trials to figure out the right rate, and the comprehensive supply chain to make sure those nutrients are available at the right time. And finally, last but not least, dedicated capacity building, making available the best agricultural practices to farmer, and we did securing the last heir. And in Ethiopia, can I have the next one? Thank you. And in Ethiopia, it has been a real success story for us to start implementing the philosophy of the 4R nutrient program. And we will be more than happy to continue disseminating these incredible tools with Fertilizer Canada and APNI. The starting was with ETIOSIS program, thanks to this powerful program led by ATA, the Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Agency, where we join hand alongside with Gate Foundation and the Ministry of Agriculture of Ethiopia to establish the first soil fertility map in Ethiopia. then of course we have been, can I have the previous one? The previous slide, please. We didn't move yet, okay. And of course, with the outcome of the ATOC's program, we have been able to develop a customized formula for the country, and comprehensive field program with the farmers to enhance their capability building. And you can see the transformation of the fertilizer usage in the country from 2013, where we were less than 400,000 tons, to 2020, where we are today at 1.1 million tons. We move from DAP consumption, only DAP consumption, directly used, to a 100% customized formula. Next one, please. And you can see that we are still in the middle of this incredible experience in Ethiopia, where we will start soon by involving blending unit alongside with the farmer cooperative union in order to go forward the customization, and not only the 3-4 customized formula. We will go to more than 50 formula in 150 kilometers around each blending unit with the farmer cooperative union, with a plan to go up to 2025 to more than 1.7 million ton of customized formula. And all those incredible numbers have been done without any subsidy. So we just upfront an investment in knowledge, and investment in capacity building, and investment in R&D. Why it has been a successful story in Ethiopia? First of all, because of the very strong leadership of the federal government of Republic of Ethiopia. Second, a clear roadmap and policy established by the Minister of Agriculture of Ethiopia. And third, reliable partner that have been able to implement this in the field, thanks to first to ATA, to Gate Foundation, to Ethiopian Agribusiness Corporation, and the involvement of OCP Group. That will be all, I think, in order to not consume more time.
Sure. And thank you very much, Faisal, for that rundown. We are running to the end of our time. I think we can go to 9 or 10 minutes into the next hour. What I've proposed to, I'd like to introduce Ryan Doyle, who's International Sales Manager for International Raw Materials. Ryan is our chairman of, or chairperson of our steering committee for the 4R Solution project. And if Ryan could join me, we can just allow for a few brief questions. I don't know if Mumbi has captured any questions, but I want to say that all the material that was produced today will be shared. And if you provide us your questions and we don't get to them, we will respond as soon as we can after the session. Are there any questions?
Clyde, I believe that Mr. Bamba, Dr. Bamba would like to take the floor. Thank you.
Yes, please, Mr. Bamba.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Great. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. First and foremost, I just wanted to congratulate the Government of Canada and all the partners for putting on this project, as well as this discussion. While this project is focused on 3 countries, as you can see from the participation of countries like Rwanda, Zambia, and others, it really is an Africa-wide issue that needs to be addressed, and there's a great deal of momentum around the topic. So your timing could not be better. So first and foremost is really a congratulations to the Government of Canada, as well as other partners who are launching this project. Second, as Dr. Mandefro highlighted, I think the success that we've had in Ethiopia and the momentum that we have generated is really because of the partnerships that were brought together to develop this Ethiosis digital soil map that included not only the ATA, but also the Ministry of Agriculture, the Research Institute, OCP, and many other partners that now gives us the data to be able to use the project like the 4R concept in a much more impactful way. So as you heard from my good friend, the minister from Rwanda, Rwanda is also doing a digital soil map, and I would really encourage other countries to really understand the nutrients in their soil so that they can take advantage of these types of projects. And then lastly, really for the project, I'd really encourage you to leverage the local institutions that exist in the country. I know that you spoke about the cooperatives, which is fantastic because those are truly local institutions. But when it comes to the Research Institute, the extension system in the country, I think by leveraging those, your impact could be so much greater, especially on the indirect side. And I think you'll have ready-made partners, especially in a country like Ethiopia, but I suspect in Ghana and Senegal and other places that you'll be engaging. So just a shout out to the domestic and local institutions that I think are ready and willing to work with you on this. And then lastly, once again, congratulations. And from ATA's side, we really look forward to working with you on this project in Ethiopia. Thank you for the time.
Well, thank you very much for those encouraging words. Brian, did you want to field any of the questions if we have any?
Thanks, Clyde. I think we are going to try and collect the questions and try to get back to each individual after the session, just because we are a little short on time. I was just going to make a brief remark on kind of from the industry perspective. You know, people in sub-Saharan Africa might think, why would Fertilizer Canada and industry players in Canada be interested in a project like this and interested in funding a project like this? The 4Rs really grew out of a lot of, you know, it wasn't like this program in North America, it just came about overnight. It's actually been a long-standing growth process and learning process for a lot of the North American fertilizer players, where we actually made a lot of mistakes along the way historically. And the 4Rs is really our internal way of correcting those mistakes in terms of using the right fertilizer and make sure we're applying at the right rate and right time. And we really saw this as an opportunity to get ahead of you know, that curve in Africa and implement some of the things that we've learned along the way, and hope to have our partners in Africa, you know, take some of the mistakes that we've made and you know, ensure that those are not duplicated in Africa. So really a way to get ahead of you know, making sure that fertilizer is used appropriately in sub-Saharan Africa. I think from a question standpoint, if there are any questions, if we can put them in the chat, and we can make sure that we can get back to each individual and their individual question. That's all I have. Clyde and Robin, if you want to go ahead and close out the ceremony.
Yeah, well, I want to thank the Minister Ngizi from Ethiopia for hosting this event. You know, our partnership in Ethiopia is very important to us, as it is in Ghana, and our emerging work in Senegal. But I think our ambitions are that the success of this project, which we hope to achieve, will benefit many more people throughout Africa, smallholders and even larger farmers, but also you know, improve the outcomes for women, academic achievement, agribusiness. I know Jason Scarponi is, I think, in the session, and the general prosperity of Africa. So thanks everyone for participating. Please, as Brian said, please share with us any questions or comments and we will work to address those very quickly. So thank you very much. Thank you, Robin, and your team as well. You know, I hope to all see you in the near future in Africa once travel becomes more accessible. So thank you very much and have a terrific day or evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Grandma. So finally, I would like to thank the entire team who organized this event. I know in terms of agriculture as a sector, we have two critical challenges: the rapid population growth and the climate change that requires more produce from less conducive environment. So this can be achieved if we are going to use science, technology, and innovation. So the 4R will have a special place in terms of innovation to achieve this goal. So we will learn from the current pilot, and we will take it to other parts of Ethiopia and to other countries of Africa. Looking forward, I would like colleagues, ministerial colleagues, and the AU Commissioner to promote this lesson and to participate, you know, in this kind of event. We will continue having a series of these events where we can learn and share the lessons. So since we are out of time, I would like to stop in here and ask Grandma to close the session. Once again, I appreciate your contribution, and I'm grateful to all participants of this event. I hope you're going to join us in a series of future events as well. Thank you, goodbye.
Thank you very much, Minister. And I won't say much more than to say thank you, and that we believe this is the start of a very positive journey. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.